Hello and welcome to the 84 Million podcast. And today we're going to review the Impact of Ordinals panel, which took place at the Litecoin Summit last week in Nashville. Of course, I was invited to moderate that panel, and I think it's worth reviewing here, and that's what we want to do today. So rather than me having a guest on the show, we're just going to play that clip. Of course, I got the clip from the Litecoin Foundation's YouTube, and I'd highly encourage you to visit their YouTube page and watch both days of the event. So essentially Wednesday from 9 to 5 p.m. and Thursday from 9 to 5 p.m., albeit with a few breaks for lunch and other things. It was a jam-packed event and lots happened. You're going to want to tune into that and watch the long form. But I did kind of stream out just a little snippet I was involved in, and I wanted to play that here in a few moments. Before we kind of get into that, though, just a few things. We had our guests with us. It was Brenda Gentry from Bundle Bets, Luke Wright, who, of course, was on our 4th episode. And I think much of our community is already familiar with his work, and it's exciting stuff. And then we also had James Flew Griffin and Kyle Gordon from Wagyu Games. So their stories are pretty interesting, too. And do check out these folks. In the show notes, I did put some links in regarding what they're up to. But there's one thing I wanted to note, that the audio quality during the question and answer session at the end, I did have to modify, so it might sound a little strange, but I had to really crank it up because the individuals asking the questions were not mic'd. So bear with that section, but I hope you enjoy it. I think it was a valuable conversation. And again, I'm grateful to the foundation for inviting me to lead that panel. So here you go.
Kyle Eber has 84 million podcasts. Kyle published 84million.com in the fall of 2021 as an education and advocacy platform promoting Litecoin as the best digital money and blockchain payment network. After his standalone interview with developer David BURKETT in spring 2023, Kyle launched the 84 Million podcast, which now has listeners in more than 50 countries. Kyle is also responsible for the Litecoin Coffee Club, a small batch specialty coffee project for the Litecoin community. Learn more at 84million.com, and he's going to introduce to you and let them introduce his panel. And so we'll welcome them up here to start us off after lunch.
To the stage. So we'll wait for everybody to come here. So it's good to be at the Litecoin Summit. Who's thankful for Litecoin? I think we have some interesting experience on the stage today. Some of these folks I've met, some of them I talked on the phone with, some of them are engaged in things that I typically don't engage with in terms of Litecoin use and what they're building and things that are coming to our ecosystem. But needless to say, hello and welcome to the Litecoin Summit's panel on ordinals and their impact, okay? So again, thank you for the introduction, sir. I do appreciate that. But I'd like to maybe get to know who's with me here on the stage. So if we could maybe just go down the line and you could each offer some words about each of you. Give us some of your story. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Luke Wright. I'm one of the co-creators of Ordinals after Anthony ported it. So big shout out to him. And thank you to Indigo for getting that bounty started. So like Ordinals.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Hi, this is Brenda Gentry. Thank you for allowing me to be on the stage with a great panel. So normally on crypto, I'm known on social media as Crypto Mom. I have been engaged in helping NFT communities, onboard NFT communities to the blockchain, or just Web2 communities, learning more about the blockchain, and I'm excited to speak about the Ordinals.
Hi, I'm Flew. My real name is James, but if you call me that, you're probably a Fed, which is acceptable. I was very, very early to Litecoin. I was CPU mining it effectively, which is weird to say now. And then I was not able to scale my mining operations past that point because I was broke as hell. Since then, I've become slightly less broke. I've founded a lending market, a few games, a few other things, and most importantly, I work with Kyle over here on Wagyu Games.
Hello, my name is Kyle Gordon. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders at Wagyu Games. We build blockchain games, give it a little bit different spin than most of your traditional games, and actually use the blockchain technology for what it's meant to be for, and let people have their assets in any way that they see fit. Just glad to be here and appreciate you having us.
Here, let's give him a hand. Well, terrific. We get to sort of wrestle with the topic of ordinals. Who in here is aware of what ordinal protocol is or anything about ordinals? So a few people, good. I do want to still establish a baseline so we can kind of understand what we're talking about here with the time that we've got. But that's great that some of us are already aware of it and possibly even using this technology, which is brand new to Litecoin. So what is this? What do we do with it? I think it's a consequential topic. It was ported, like Luke mentioned, in early 2023, okay? Initially was created for Bitcoin by Casey Rodermore, brought over by Anthony on-chain, Crypto Anthony, and now we have it. It's interesting that this wasn't a Bitcoin improvement proposal or a Litecoin improvement proposal or whatever sort of traditional system we use in the consensus with Litecoin. This kind of came out of nowhere, and it can't be stopped. So it's changed Litecoin forever, and now we get to kind of wrestle with its realities. I'm going to start maybe with a devil's advocate sort of position. We had, of course, David BURKETT with us earlier on screen. He was a very outspoken critic, actually, of ordinals initially. So what do we do with ordinals? Okay. We've argued that it's block spam, okay, something like this. We've argued that it's a diversion from the use of, or I should say the monetary uses of Litecoin as a money, okay, something like this. Even the creator, Casey, said one time in an interview that he doesn't even particularly like NFTs and that most of them are hideous. Yet, he brought us to Bitcoin and now we have it on Litecoin. So maybe Luke, can you tell us why that is either, well, I would imagine incorrect, I'll let you speak for yourself, but kind of debunk that for us, this idea that we're dealing with block spam, this is excessive space, we don't need it, it's a diversion from the purpose of Litecoin as money.
Yeah, that's a hard topic to kind of contradict, but being as a creator of ordinals on Litecoin, I'd have to say that, and just to be aware real fast, ordinals is essentially putting metadata on a single Litoshi and then padding that, and essentially that metadata will be read by an indexer, which will display pictures, videos, code, and basically allow you to have distributed NFTs on-chain for the first time in a long time, other than OmniLite, which is a different topic. But to answer your question there, I have to go with the fact that in 2018, roughly 2017, Litecoin was getting right around 20,000 transactions a day. Mm-hmm. And currently we saw a slide from a previous presentation that it's getting around 200,000 transactions a day. And currently about 50,000 of those transactions a day are ordinals responsive, meaning that Ordinals has increased transactions, which increases miner incentives and payouts for Litecoin specifically, but it creates people and it makes people take their Litecoin off-chain to be able to interact and create these Ordinals, to create the art and have artists and other communities come in. We know that art is another form of an asset class when people are looking for investing or looking to move their money into other things. Sometimes they'll go to museums, buy just these really expensive pieces of art. This is no different, and just in a digital format. So yeah, it does increase the block space, which is the block spam debate, but it's a stepping stone. We need that in order to progress with the future of Bitcoin, with Litecoin, with all the UTXO style chains which ordinals exist on today. So without, I don't think, ordinals, we're not going to take a step forward into how do we solve that block space problem? How do we get past that? Because eventually block space, it's limited. If you don't use it or it is used, you're going to have to figure out how to get more of it or what to do, side chains, drive chains, all that kind of stuff. So I know Bitcoin Computer, Litecoin Computer, the same thing. Both of those are kind of a segregation into how we can kind of expand on that. But I'll leave it at that for now.
Very good, very good. So we're getting more
again, this is more of an NFT type of technology on Litecoin. Previously, we had OmniLite, and we still have OmniLite, but inscriptions go on the actual Litoshi itself. So it's on-chain layer one. It's not linking out at all. So that's very unique. And I'll add that LTC20 tokens, which Luke may have been involved with that, porting that to the protocol. And we also have runes more recently in May, which both of those build on the baseline of ordinal technology or the protocol, right? They're meta features of these things. But going back to the topic, the last negative on this, maybe Flu, you ran a node. You were earlier, you were running CPU, within the Litecoin client back in the day. It's a node. We want nodes. We want everybody to run a node. That's part of the decentralization of the blockchain, right? Confirmation of transactions, and anybody can download it. So is this, again, just block spam? How do we argue with, how do you argue in favor or against that statement that this is just junk, we don't need it?
So the argument was that it makes for bad money, but it makes for very good programmable money. And so like Bitcoin benefits from this. You've seen kind of that whole revolution there. There's 100 BTC L2s at this point, and are we saying that we don't want people to scale and build on Litecoin? That's a silly argument. And so I don't want to be focused on, like, I guess, theoreticals. Oh, what about block space? What about this? Well, I mean, these are all challenges, but if we never have the need to actually attack those challenges, it doesn't really matter. We need the users. We need people coming in and thinking of Litecoin as just as good, if not better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't have natural web functionality. Bitcoin doesn't have natural, like there's a bunch of other arguments there about Bitcoin versus Litecoin, but Litecoin's certainly more approachable, and I think that it would be a wonderful place and community to build within. And I think that just the more mature that we get, the better.
Hear, hear. I think those are good responses to kind of clear the FUD. Because again, it's still a debate. We're a community, right? We're a decentralized network. We've got builders all over the place doing different things. But now we have more in our toolkit to kind of use Litecoin in ways we never would have thought possible. And I think that's exciting, and I think we celebrate that. So looking maybe more positive now, the impact of ordinals. There's a lot of possibilities. We're not going to be able to unpack all of these things. And the folks with me on stage are doing very unique things as well. We would go on and on, but we have 20 minutes, okay? So I want to try to target some questions that are specific to these folks' experiences. So we'll start with Kyle and Flu. You're leading in the realm of blockchain gaming, okay? With Wagyu specifically as your company. Your first-person shooter, Undead Blocks, was winning awards. This has already incorporated blockchain technology, other chains. But you're doing that successfully. How do you see ordinals, inscriptions, and I'll say just generally NFTs, tokens, et cetera? We want to talk about Litecoin. I'm not sure if you're using it yet. Maybe you could talk about that too. But how does using the blockchain and integrating it into a gaming system, what's the significance of this sort of thing?
Someone gets control of their assets completely. Those assets can be upgradable. They can transfer them. They can do whatever they want to. Since we can put that into games, other forms of entertainment, those stay with you. That's something that gaming, most entertainment forms never had beforehand. Bringing in those assets will bring in the largest amount of people from all around the world. Entertainment and gaming is the #1 source for entertaining people around the world. Literally bringing in the youth, bringing in people that has that mindset. They'll build new assets or want new assets that's built into game that'll be using this blockchain technology. These blockchains, as they continue to build out, they continue to make games better. There's things that we find, there's through anti-cheat, there's things that we verify on the blockchain. It's just literally about keeping it fun, frictionless, and free. So we can bring people in, we get them excited, they get to own something, it stays with them, they can transfer it, they can sell it, they can do whatever they want to with it. At that point in time, it's endless the possibilities that you can do with ordinals, with NFTs, with assets, whatever you want to call them, that they're going into games, they're going into music, there's all kinds of things that it's going to be going into in the future. We pick up what we think is the best out of those technologies and put it into game to make it better. Games have always been great. People's always loved games, going back to Atari, Sega, Genesis, whatever it might be. We have to find what makes those games better, what makes them games feel the person's more immersed into that game. They're more part of that, and blockchain is what does it.
Very good. Did you want to add anything, Flu, to this sort of realm of discussion? Blockchain gaming, how Litecoin can change the environment, maybe even versus Bitcoin or some other chains you've worked with.
I think I've spent like $600 on Fortnite skins, and I can never get any of that back. And I'm just tired of that. That's all.
Hear, hear. So we'll move to Brenda. I think your experiences in perhaps advocacy and things like this, fundraising, looking at ordinals or NFTs in kind of a new domain or different use case. You've been involved with Ethereum projects, I know. One of them, I believe you were assisting with the Boss Beauties brand, which was in the New York Stock Exchange, and I believe the UN had some sort of visibility with that collection, empowering women. So how do you see NFT technology influencing the advocacy space, the fundraising space? Go on.
Okay, so what I do like about this technology, and I come from a traditional background, finance, 20 years in traditional background, is that the uniqueness of this NFT allows the creator to tell us, a story, a visual story. So a social cause brings about their story, but the creator, but the end user is able to see, okay, so now I can visually see what these people are actually doing. I feel like I want to support this cause. And not only that, the transparency that comes with that NFT or that ordinal, the transparency that I can track I can see where the money is going. It's tracked on the blockchain. The blockchain is, it's transparent, and, the accounting is also seen by everybody. We've seen cases where social causes, they raise millions of dollars, and nobody knows, nobody can track, and they don't feel accountable to the community. So I would say those two, and also the fact that it's a global audience, like, you have a wider reach to get to people. Say, hey, maybe I have an NFT cause someone in Nigeria wants to reach, all over the world. It's just that global audience that allows that NFT cause to go even farther. So, those are the main ones that I would suggest or say.
Very good. And I think just as a statement here, working on other chains, and anybody can really comment on this, I'll just kind of go into where we are currently in terms of fee systems and how Litecoin is working, the demand for the blockchain, et cetera. I think we can do a lot of these things that we're talking about, of course, on Bitcoin. That's where Ordinals came first, or on Ethereum. But can anyone touch to the advantages of, for example, using Litecoin for these causes, which is newer for us, but we can do it? What are some of the advantages of Litecoin being used for these technologies versus other chains?
Cost, first of all. Cost in gaming, when you move those transactions, it being frictionless, being very minuscule. Speed as well, which Litecoin has, most definitely. There's a couple different things that come in from those areas, but those are the most two that we're going to be looking at in gaming. Security as well, which there's a secure layer. There's there's development that's actually happening, so it's not a dead chain. Those are main things that we're looking for in gaming. And I know there's a couple other blockchains that have tried to hit that, but we think that Litecoin is probably going to be one of the best in the future for that.
Hear, hear. Let it come. Luke.
Just to add just one more thing to that, just kind of on top. The cost, everybody knows cost is important for all these and interacting on anything, your gas fee, your transaction fee, your miner fee. With doing anything on Litecoin, we obviously know that the fees are pennies, even cheaper sometimes. So on Ethereum, you want to mint an NFT or make a trade, you're going to spend anywhere from $5 to $10. On Bitcoin, you're going to spend roughly the same amount. So if you can do the same stuff, or even if you're in those ecosystems and you want to test on Litecoin, it's now a lot cheaper to test in a real-world scenario, not just on testnets, for pennies instead of dollars. So I think that's just another good point. We all know costs, but just to add that on there.
I can also add to that. I would say that community is so important, and you want to make sure, as Litecoin people are so like hardcore, into this product. Like, what else are you going to provide or share with your community that will allow them to be here 20, 30 years from now? Like, you don't want to just see other communities, moving forward with technology, and you guys are stuck in, okay, we're just going to be here and holding the token. You know what I'm saying? So the community, the giving back to the community and allowing them to see the building, more building going on is actually something that I personally am bullish about.
Bullish on the Litecoin community. Anybody agree with that? I think so. There's a lot of things to come, I think, for Litecoin, and these folks are building things that are super exciting. I do want to finish, maybe before we shift gears with the time we have, to Luke. You've created Litecoin Labs, or at least were a part of that project. You're specifically involved in these digital artifacts as art. So can you tell us a little bit about that and why you migrated from Ethereum to, for example, Litecoin?
Sure. I guess my background in Ethereum is a little non-traditional. It's more domain level. So if you're familiar with ENS, or even Namecoin for that example, I was working in those areas, and of course 2020 came around and everybody was buying these CryptoPunks and other things, and I was like, this is a good way to spend my Ethereum, but I also have Litecoin. How can we do this? And eventually Casey Rotomore broke that and figured that out, how to do it on Bitcoin. If it can be done on Bitcoin, it can be done on Litecoin. I'd say 4 times faster, right? And 4 times better.
Yoo-hoo!
You're here.
But yeah, so moving into the art on Litecoin, it's a store. It's on chain, completely on chain. It operates. You can see the transactions interacting, and you guys use Litecoin, and you might actually have ordinals in your balances without even realizing it, because people forgot or didn't realize how to send them at the moment. But there's wallets and there's softwares now that separate those with like coin control and other UTXO features. But art-wise, art is, what is it, a $4 trillion a year industry? Forgive my numbers if those are wrong. But it's massive. It's not going away. Our world is becoming increasingly more digital as we go on. Like, all of our tickets now are online. People might want to have those tickets as just like a representation of they've been at this event. Now that it's digital, it can be posted online, it can be bought or sold. Collectible items from pop performances, from celebrities, all those. And you've seen the experiments that people have done on Ethereum. And if it's done on Ethereum, it can be done on all the other chains, minus some smart contracting, but that's coming. It will happen. But yeah, with a $4 trillion art industry, it's going to be here on Litecoin. It's going to be here on Bitcoin. It's going to be here on all the other chains.
Very good. So we're a part of that. And I think the future is very bright for what we're doing with Litecoin and what these folks are building on Litecoin. And to be fair, you could mint these things at home. You can either use Core and add some, some language. Rust-Lang, I believe, is one of them, and do it yourself, or you could use another service. I mean, this is something anybody can use. Individuals can use it, groups can use it, communities can use it, companies can use it. Runes specifically are very interesting because you can determine kind of off the outset, are you going to have a pre-mine, et cetera, et cetera. But again, this is a wide world. We get to sort of distill it, hopefully reasonably well for you to understand. But what you guys are doing is excellent. Is there anything you wanted to add before we maybe ask some questions of the folks out here?
I'll just add something off topic. My daughters, and they onboarded me into blockchain technology. So I don't want to take all the credit for what I do. They are the best that in the marketing Web3 side. So, hey, I got here through them. They were like, Mom, get out of Web2, come to Web3. And I love it.
Very good. Anybody else want to add anything before we ask some questions of the audience?
I'll just say I'm working on what I assume is going to be the first Litecoin-backed stablecoin. I think that's going to be kind of an interesting product. So anyone curious about that, I need seed investment. So anyone rich in the audience, please just find me after this. Thank you.
You've heard it, folks. Well, very good. We have about 5 minutes left. I know some others have requested that they may have questions. So please ask them. It's open. Who would like to ask anyone on the stage anything? Go ahead. Yeah.
If ordinals are used for artwork games, is there any reason they can't be used to tokenize practically everything? Real estate, cars, professional services.
It's the same potential market as all of the Bitcoin RWA sort of stuff that's going on right now. And so just in your head, whenever you hear about Bitcoin RWA, hash rate RWA, whatever, all of those things are enabled for Litecoin by default. If you can do it on Bitcoin, you can do it on Litecoin. So like the whole narratives that have happened over there, they're going to happen again over here whenever we find our niches and our different consumer targets to actually hit those.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the script ecosystem in terms of Ordinals are working on a mining pass that essentially allows you to get revenue share from miners without having the electric cost or the miners. So there's some utility based around it, just like we've seen in those others, or real world assets. So revenue share, real world asset. So it's happening.
Very good. Thank you both. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Quick question about if someone wanted to use Litecoin for testing, and say they are having some success with it, and then all their friends say, well, wow, look how Litecoin has become the testing network for real world testing. How do you keep Litecoin from being just congested with a bunch of test stuff that no one uses?
Well, we've done a lot of important testing over the years, so I think that's very good, actually. And there is only so much block space in the world, but I'll defer the question down the line.
I'd say use Mimblewimble. I mean, that's an extension block and it's bigger. It's more storage. Obviously, that doesn't necessarily answer the question because you can throw ordinals into MWeb as well, but it's more of a lottery. But if you know lottery, the house always wins. With MWeb, it's first in, first in, first out, that kind of thing. So once that happens, you'll get your ordinal back. So you can use both chains and both blocks. So there's space on MWeb, which is another use case for MWeb in general, is just the additional block space. Obviously, it's a little more privacy focused, but you can use it for more block space that Bitcoin or those other UTXO chains don't have yet.
The blue shirt, yes.
As a gamer, I completely understand and see the utility of essentially having NFTs on Litecoin. However, the mints of those NFTs have successfully brought down other networks and made them unusable for other reasons. Is there any security going on or being developed, looked into, et cetera, to protect Litecoin from the same thing happening? An inadvertent takedown of the network makes it temporarily unusable.
I'm going to speak briefly. We have a very good record of 100% uptime on Litecoin. I think that's partially to do with maybe some simplicity that was tested first by Bitcoin. I don't want to say things are impossible. Anyone else want to comment to maybe elaborate further where I can't speak?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think there's anything being developed fully at the moment. That's a good topic that you brought up, so it's something I'll push for sure. I would like to say that the experience that Bitcoin faced, it's 4 times smaller block space. And with Litecoin having that involved, we had actually, I think it was 1.2 million ordinals in one day, and it didn't move the fees anything, and the block space did perfectly fine. So as long as we're not exceeding I would say anything crazy like 10 to 20 mil a day, we won't even see anything increase in fees even. And if it goes up by times 2, what? That's 2 pennies. But yes, security-wise, we probably need to work on something there.
As we build, they'll come.
Absolutely. We have about a minute left. Maybe one or two questions. Go ahead.
Okay, so in the NFT ordinal space, how much does the permanence of the blockchain matter to builders, knowing that it isn't temporary? You have a chain that's been running for 15 years or 13 years, and it's likely to continue. Does that play in decision? I know you guys did some Bell's coin stuff. The fact that really you don't know the future of that, or it's much more in doubt. Does that influence creators much?
I would personally say to the creators that we work with, they do care about the fact that it's forever on the blockchain. And when a few years down the road, their children or their grandchildren can also be told, hey, your parents were one of the first people to be on this blockchain building this kind of technology. And just to be clear, guys, NFTs are not dead, you know what I'm saying, or even ordinals. The space, like he said, when you build, they come. it just wasn't ready for what we brought to them at that particular time. But this is a space that's growing, and the technology allows that to happen again. So like Luke said, RWAs are happening. There's so many, like mining, there's so many utilities that people are not focused on right now, but eventually with time, and it could be 2025, 2026, but when it comes, it's going to be here to stay. So.
Very good, thank you. Maybe one more question. Go ahead.
Does Litecoin look like to stay at POW, proof of work, or you guys come to a consensus where you guys make that transition over to proof of stake?
We're definitely proof of work, and I think the foundation has been very supportive of proof of work. So it's not an impossibility to convert, but I don't think there would be any plan. By the way, I don't speak for the foundation. I'm my own person. 84 million's independent of the foundation. I can't speak for anyone at the foundation or anything, but as a part of the decentralized community, I don't think there's any effort to go that direction. But perhaps it's not an impossibility. But there's been a lot at the foundation level, whether it's the Proof of Work Summit, where we're seeing the support of keeping things proof of work, because I know there's a lot of political sort of pressure against that in some ways for energy use and utility and economics and all that, which I think if you were here during some of the minor talks like Nathan Poole, he kind of dispels a lot of that. So I think we need education there. I think proof of work is extremely special, something that we're still keeping alive as Bitcoin still has. I personally wouldn't want to see us lose proof of work, but anybody, proof of work?
I think that proof of work is probably the greatest ally to the green movement that possibly exists, because you hit them on the economic layer. And so, like, I personally believe that more and more proof of work mining we will want to present as green in order to defray that, I guess, specific FUD point. And I think that we will contribute a great deal to the further development of green energy.
Hear, hear. I have to stop it at that, I think, for the sake of who's next. But thank you, every single one of you, for coming and joining the panel. Thanks for the folks that are asking the questions, and of course for being here and supporting Litecoin as an idea, as a currency, and as a new layer to create all sorts of fun things on. So thank you very much.
So once again, a shout out to the Litecoin Foundation for a great summit, and personal thanks for the invitation to be involved in that panel you just heard, the impact of ordinals. So head over to the Litecoin Foundation's YouTube page, watch the entire 2-day event. I'll say there's just way more than I can articulate here in a minute. You know, there's just so much that happened there, and you're not going to want to miss out on that content. I will specifically highlight one part, and that would be the closing ceremony with the Litecoin Foundation members, including Charlie Lee. Definitely tune into that if nothing else. Pretty big announcements and exciting information shared there that you're not going to want to miss. And the days are very bright for Litecoin. So until the next summit, we'll just have to wait and see. I think there's a cruise coming, so we'll be paying attention to what the Litecoin Foundation has to say in the coming days. But in the meantime, thank you for listening to the podcast. We'll have more episodes with more guests soon. And we thank you for listening. So, of course, you can find us on 84million.com/podcast. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube, the video form, and our X account also has the video format as well. So follow us on X at 84million or at 84M Podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We do appreciate it. We're trying to get to 500 and we're getting close. So thank you for considering a subscription click. And thank you to all of you who already subscribed. Please share our content. Please get the word out. Cheers, guys. We'll see you soon with a new episode. Thank you. Bye-bye.